Stephanie, I'm so excited that you're here today. So, for you who are watching, Stephanie is a wonderful copywriter who I have been working with for over 6 months. We've been doing quite a few handbooks together. And so I invited her here to talk about that process. So, Stephanie, you are an entrepreneur on your own. I would love to know, what are the services that you provide for your clients?
Hi, Candace. Thank you for inviting me on. So I am a freelance business writer and technical copywriter. I help businesses with their process and procedure documentation, from HR SOPs to process mapping to user manuals and training guides. I help organizations decide what sort of documentation they need, and then I write it. And then I can help them organize it in a super user-friendly and efficient way.
You are amazing. That is such a great service to provide. I feel like so many people are like, they have processes, but they're not quite there yet. And so it's just so important, the work that you're doing. How did you get into it?
I've always been a writer. I've always loved writing, but my writing style is very straightforward and succinct. So this style of writing lends itself very well to HR SOPs and internal documentation and training materials. A few years ago, I was working for an engineering firm that wanted to document all of their business processes. They ended up needing over 500 new SOPs. And it was a lot of work. So apart from the writing part, I really enjoyed the strategy of coming up with a way to make all of this documentation super easy and accessible for everyone in the organization. And that's kind of what gave me the idea that I could use my love of writing to help businesses get organized and become more efficient.
Wow. That's 500 is an insane amount.
Yeah. I mean, it was over several months, so I didn't realize how much I was doing until the work was actually done. But yeah, it was a lot.
I love that moment when you can look back and see just the amount of work that has happened over the course of a project. And okay, so to dive into our handbook process, which Stephanie has helped me make this more streamlined and more user-friendly for clients who are coming to me to do handbooks, to us to do handbooks. So what is our process like now? How does it work for someone? If they're interested in doing a handbook, what happens?
So at Fortress and Flourish, we have a wide array of employee handbook, building blocks and templates that I will pick and choose which blocks, which portions to kind of bring together to make an initial foundational outline. And then, because every client we work with is different and unique in their own way, so as we work with a client more and get to know them and their quirks, that's when I really dig into the text and customize it for each organization.
I love that you bring up quirks, because every organization, every leader of an organization feels like their organization is unique, and they are unique in so many different but so many different kinds of ways. And we never really know what that looks like until we start talking with them.
Until we dig in. Yeah.
How long does this usually take from start to finish?
So that greatly depends on the overall complexity of the handbook. Certain things will make a handbook more complex, like if you have employees in multiple states, if you have employees of many different employment statuses, things like that will make the handbook itself longer, and thus it will take me longer.
True. And also the length of time it takes the client to read it, right? Because sometimes
yes.
Yeah, like we recently had a client where we had actually created all their HR SOPs, but they didn't have the time to actually read them. And so now we're like on pause until we get some feedback. So
And that's totally understandable. People get busy, and sometimes, SOPs and HR documentation people aren't falling over themselves to read through it. So
yeah, on the urgency list, it goes to the bottom sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, so what tips do you have for people when they are reviewing drafts of SOPs or handbooks or any of these things?
Sure. Well, firstly, don't do it all at once. It's a lot of information, a lot of dense information to try to process. Depending on the length and complexity of the handbook, it can have anywhere from 4 to 8 major sections. I would recommend trying to do one section at a time, like maybe doing one section a day. When I write the first few drafts, I do it in Google Docs. I would highly encourage people to use the comments feature. And as you are reading along, just make comments, any questions, suggestions, any clarification you need. And then when you get together with you and me, Candace, it's really easy to have all of those things in one place. And when we're reading through the draft, it's just easy to address all of those issues.
The first time that I edited an employee handbook, or not edited, but when I was reading and creating and revising the first employee handbook, it took me a week of splitting each section up day by day to really be able to concentrate on all of the details, because it's such detailed and technical language. And as a business owner or an executive director, questions about how you do things can come up too. And so putting those in the comments section so that we can tackle all of those as we go through is really great, because we want to make sure that the handbook reflects what you're doing in your business.
Right. And another thing to keep in mind, though, is that you want the handbook to be able to grow and adapt as your organization grows and adapt. So if you do hit any topics or policies, procedures that you think might change, that's definitely a conversation to have when you meet with, Candace and I. And then we can I can tweak the language to reflect that.
Yeah, that happens a lot in the benefits section, I feel like, and time off sections and holiday sections. There's a lot of things like that. So Stephanie, if people are interested in connecting with you and potentially working with you, where is the best place for them to do that?
Find me on LinkedIn, connect, send me a message. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. We'll link that below so that you can find her. And thank you so much for interviewing with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoy the work I do for Fortress and Flourish, and I've really enjoyed all the clients that we've worked with. Here's to many more.